What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. We are back with another Instagram Live, and today we are actually joined by a really special guest, Dr. Effie. She is a clinical psychologist. She actually specializes in eating disorders, perfectionist, all or nothing mentalities, and specifically works with bodybuilders and other fitness enthusiasts when it comes to kind of the dark struggles that they face when it comes to entering into the fitness community, things that bodybuilding really doesn't cover as you compete in the sport, and really kind of go through when it comes to the extreme nature of the competitive realm of bodybuilding. And so we're going to hear a little bit about her and her journey as a bodybuilder herself, and how she believes that bodybuilding actually gives us the tools and that empowers us to do what we need to do successfully as an athlete. And then also kind of like some common themes and trends that she notices with the patients that she works with, and also kind of dive into how to address those and kind of work through them. Rather than just, blaming bodybuilding as a sport and, not taking any ownership over your actions, but also understanding what really bodybuilding can give you when it comes to just being able to be not only a successful, athlete in the sport, but then also kind of moving on with your life. And so I'm going to give her a few minutes to hop on here, and we'll essentially get this party started and rocking and rolling. I'm also going to see if I can invite her as well. So one moment, I'm going to invite Dr. Effie, and we will kind of get this party started. I feel like Instagram is kind of like shadow banning me for a bit, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to have her on or what the deal is. So bear with me here. I'm going to message her now on my laptop and just kind of wait and see if she's able to get on here. And if not, I may need to close down and see if I have to invite her the old-fashioned way. I did send her the live, so maybe she'll be able to join in here. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I know she lives in Australia, so I don't know if there's like a different update or if I'm just like shadow banned, but we'll see. There she is. Awesome. Do that dance. And never a dull day in the Instagram community. I'll tell you what. I've accepted it like 6 times now. So, hey, there we go. Hello, good morning to you.
Good evening to you. Hi.
That's right. That's right. I saw you got a new training program. How's that going?
Yeah, really good. I'm always excited when it's a new program.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's your favorite body part to train?
Oh my gosh, it's a hard question. Mm, I really like. Not a typical body part for a bikini competitor, but I like training my biceps. It just makes me feel strong.
You know what?
No.
I was not expecting that answer, but I respect it. You know what you want, and I respect that.
Yeah,
It's great
yeah,
having you on, Dr. Effie. I know you have you've helped a lot of bodybuilders kind of come into their own when it comes to understanding that bodybuilding really can give the athlete a lot when it comes to just building up their self-confidence. But obviously on the reverse side and kind of the darker side of bodybuilding, it can also kind of uncover a lot of maybe disorders and self-sabotaging tendencies. And so before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of our topic, I do want to hear from you and kind of talk about how, like, working as a clinical therapist, but then also as a bodybuilder, how you were able to essentially fill the need of working with athletes of this nature, because obviously this is like the first time I ever heard of someone that specialized in bodybuilding athletes or really fitness enthusiasts. So tell us a little bit about your story and kind of how you kind of bridged the gap here.
yeah, sure. So, bodybuilding's really taught me a lot about the mind and how it works, and also what can actually help you mentally. But I came across it sort of almost accidentally. I went through my own sort of difficult experiences in life. I went through an emotionally abusive marriage, and when I left that, I, gradually over time became stronger mentally. And there was a point where I thought, you know what, I now want to be stronger physically. I sort of wanted to match the way I was feeling mentally in my body. And I wasn't fit before. I wasn't really sporty before, none of that background. So I started going to a gym. I later on got a coach, and gradually wanted to challenge myself further. I met a new man who's now my partner, and he was into bodybuilding and said, "How about maybe you should compete?" And I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go on a stage in a bikini and go completely out of my comfort zone. It seemed ridiculous to me. But I was sort of, in this like self-improvement sort of phase and, doing more for myself, while previously I was really focused as a clinical psychologist for many years and mostly on my clients, and I've got children, so I focused on them. So I finally was doing that for myself. So I thought I'll challenge myself and do that. And what I learned as I was working with a coach is that while I was thinking, okay, I'm already stronger mentally, now I just need to be stronger physically, as I was challenging myself to become physically stronger, you obviously have to use your mind, and you have to have this mental toughness. You've got to push through pain and discomfort in order to progress in that. And so I learned how to really channel my energy to do that. Started using some of the skills that I teach other people for different reasons, and then embarking on a bodybuilding comp, learning to deal with that discomfort of dieting and so on. And so I got to see all the different challenges that that I had to face, and I thought, I've got to teach other people how to do this. But the thing is that I then also realized, as I met other competitors and I got more into the bodybuilding community, that there is actually such a gap between mental health and competing, that there are many people like myself who got into bodybuilding maybe because they have been through something difficult and wanted to improve themselves. Then there are other people who've had a fitness or sport kind of background before and wanted to compete, but then maybe things from their past started getting in the way, or other life challenges got in the way, or stresses, or things like that. Maybe there was a fear of actually doing well, and that kind of sabotaged, their progress. All sorts of, different issues came up. And the thing is that your bodybuilding coach can only help you so much.
Sure.
They can guide you, they can give you that training program, that can motivate you as much as they can and push you, but they can't really help you with so many of those emotional issues. And so and there was sort of a gap there, and I really was wanting to get into that field more and help competitors bring out their best, know how they can still handle emotional issues, stresses in life, and still compete. That you don't have to wait till you've got no stress in your life or no mental health issues in order to compete. You absolutely can do both. In fact, it can make you better. It can help you get through it.
Absolutely. So I really want to dive into what are common either themes or traits that you notice among bodybuilders or even fitness enthusiasts, because you don't just work with bodybuilders, you work with really anyone. Like you have specializations that you specialize in when it comes to kind of like your services. So talk through maybe if you could like five like key things that maybe you've noticed, and then we can kind of talk about how you like to address them so that way people don't feel just like they're broken and battered and that there's no hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the first thing, because this is a physique competition, the main one is body image issues. And there's different body image issues depending on whether you're in prep or whether you're post-show. There's different issues that you navigate there. But, the issues with that is, let's say in both comp prep and post comp, comparing yourself to others, right? You're looking where others are at. Are they further along than me? And then self-doubt creeps in, which would be the second issue. So doubting your abilities, doubting your progress, that sort of thing. The other issue that I see as quite common is actually social issues. So, either not communicating properly to loved ones, what you're working on, what you're going through, or, people just not understanding what you're doing, not being able to go out as much or explain that. to people around you. Um, the other thing too is not knowing how to balance everything in your life while you're doing that. So obviously balance is going to look different at different stages, but a lot of people can burn out when they're all or
Yep.
nothing. And then that all or nothing seeps into other areas. It becomes with food, either restricting or
Yep.
not. So some people end up, binging. So that would be the other issue. Um, and and then then there's like other little bits and pieces. So it might be just feeling stressed and not knowing how to manage your stress while you're dealing with that. It's also identity issues when you
Sure.
get deep into prep. Often you don't know, like, what am I outside of being a bodybuilder, if that's where all your focus is on. So in terms of dealing with all of that, the first thing that I find people really need to have clear when they, with whatever goal really that you set, it doesn't even have to be just bodybuilding. You need to know why you're doing it,
Mm.
right? You really need to have a very clear why, because I feel like sometimes people do it for reasons that I'm not going to say are wrong. Everyone's got their own reasons, but they may not be sustainable. So if
Sure.
you're doing it because you see people on stage and you think, oh, I want to look like that, I want to get that kind of attention,
Yeah.
or that would make me feel like I'm worthy of something. Those are kind of external motivators, and we need to look more internally, like, how is this actually going to make my life better? What is this going to contribute to my life? How is this aligned with things that are important to me? So if it's important for you to improve yourself, to challenge yourself, to be disciplined, to be consistent, um, to learn to be more mentally tough. If those kinds of things are important to you as a person, then doing a bodybuilding comp is going to be aligned with that, because you need all of those traits to do that. So being really clear on why is important. It's also what's going to help you post comp as well. Because if you know why you're doing it, then it means that all those traits are important to you whether you're competing or not. So even in post comp, you can set new intentions for why you're in this phase now, what your intention is for this phase now, whether it's growing, whether it's engaging in other interests and things like that.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
really
I think it's
important.
really important to have that strong why and making sure it
Mm,
comes within, because external validation will only get you so far. And when you are quite
yeah,
literally in a sparkly bikini on stage, you are literally being like, there's nowhere to hide. You are literally being judged in a swimsuit.
yeah,
And it's really important that you do this for the right reasons. You do it for yourself, to better yourself, to push yourself. And also understanding that this is also a sport. Like, it is a sport with clear cut criteria when it comes to how you
yeah.
were literally being judged and scored as an athlete. And something that see as a coach a lot is that all or nothing, like you talked about, your perfectionist tendencies, where if you don't follow the plan perfectly all the time, like you spiral, which kind of bleeds into one
Mm,
another in terms of burning
mm,
out. But then
mm,
also like feeling like you should be doing something, but yet have self-sabotaging tendencies. And I would love to hear from you about maybe how you help your clients and your patients kind of like address self-sabotage when it comes to maybe eating off plan or deviating from the plan, or maybe even we can talk about just not having your actions being in alignment with your why and your end goal.
mm. The self-sabotage, it's so individual. So when someone when I notice that someone self-sabotages, we need to really look at why this is happening, because it could be for a number of reasons. And so let's say, for example, if we're talking about food and we're talking about binging, um, you know, did this happen first of all, for physiological reasons? Were you actually really hungry because you've been restricting for so long? And maybe we need to look at, okay, is that realistic? Is that what is meant to be happening right now, in this phase that you're in? Or was it, sometimes it's something deeper than that. It's actually a fear of doing well and what that would mean. Maybe, for example, that, there are some people where, um, um, growing up, succeeding wasn't actually a positive experience. Maybe it was overlooked. Maybe there wasn't validation for that, and so maybe that's associated with something negative for them. So we need to look at what that means. Um, and other times it's because, you just didn't really plan ahead. You're sort
Sure.
of going with the flow a bit too much. And, if you're going to be putting yourself in situations, especially this time of year, well, it's going to happen. People are going out more and there's events and family gatherings coming up. You need to have a plan. How am I going to navigate this situation? I'm going to be encountering these foods. I'm going to be having certain conversations, with people. People might ask me, why aren't you eating this? Or how come you can have that? Or that sort of thing. So I think to prevent the self-sabotage, you need to have a plan. You need to be clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it. And, we come up with a plan for how to navigate those situations ahead of time
Yes,
so that you're clear. This is what will happen if someone offers me this, you know, that's what matters.
absolutely. I think that's great advice. And then you touched on kind of a common thing that you see when it comes to body image. How do you
Mm.
address, or maybe like what are some practical takeaways that someone could use when they are either, I mean, really during whatever stage they are in bodybuilding, but I feel like
Mm.
the most vulnerable is maybe deep off season where we have body fat that's higher than obviously being stage lean, but then also like reversing from a show and even honestly contest prep in and of itself, your eyes are skewed when it comes to like how you see yourself. And a common thing that I hear as a coach is I feel fat. I feel obese. I feel fluffy. I feel wide. Like all of these things to kind of talk about having body fat, but it's like, as someone myself, I have been morbidly obese. I know what that feels like, and it's not a feeling, it's the idea of being sick. But as bodybuilders, like chances are we're not really sick. We might have body fat, but
Mm.
body fat doesn't equal sickness unless you were like morbidly obese. So what are some things that you like to kind of have your patients or clients focus on when it comes to these feelings that they are feeling about themselves?
Mm. So look, I mean, the feelings come from thoughts, right? So we need to look at what are you actually thinking about that's leading to this? What are you saying to yourself in your mind? And this is really about being realistic. As you said, someone might say, "I feel fat," so you're saying to yourself that's what you are, right? So we need to actually be really base your what you're saying in your mind on facts and reality, not assumptions and speculations and just those feelings. So knowing what the intention is for this phase post comp. So okay, my intention is to grow, it's to build. What does that involve? What does that look like?
Mhm.
So I think again, rather than sort of just going with the flow, okay, I'll just do kind of what my coach says that's what I'm meant to do, and then be surprised or shocked that you're looking a different way. Just be really clear on what does this look like?
Mhm.
What can I expect? And something that I often say, no matter whether it's bodybuilding or another issue, is that what you focus on, you amplify,
Mhm.
right? So if you're going to be focusing on how you look, that's going to be amplifying your experience. That's all that you're going to be focusing on and all that you're going to be looking at. In this post-comp phase, there's a lot more to your life than just bodybuilding.
Yeah,
There always is. You are a lot more than a bodybuilder. You are doing bodybuilding. You're not just a bodybuilder. So it's amplifying in your mind those other areas of your life. So in terms of how do you deal with body image, it's actually part of it is actually how do you deal with the other areas of your life, like embrace those as well, whether it's relationships, career, study, other hobbies, friendships. Focus your attention on all the other bits that make up your life, and then the body image is not going to seem as overwhelming.
I agree, and I think that's great advice. Sorry, we're kind of jumping around here, but I was just thinking about what you were talking about with the holidays and having that social interaction. And a lot of the
Mm.
clients that I work with, when we have like either team calls, like they worry about the holidays because others judge what either is or is not on their plate, or if they bring their meals or eat protein. Like they sometimes view it as an attack rather than an invitation to invite conversation and explain why
Mm.
you're proud to be a bodybuilder or why you're proud to prioritize your health. So, what are some things that you like to remind your clients and patients when it comes to social interactions? How it's not necessarily their job to make other people accept their choices, but more to focus on maybe just the conversation around why it is you're doing what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I love this topic because actually it's just so common.
So
and
common.
and yeah, whether it's the people that are closest to you, or or other people, I think we just, first of all, we need to be really mindful of ourselves, because I think, without meaning to, some people can just be quite defensive when they're asked anything about their, right, their, what they're eating and what they're doing, and assume that it's an attack, when maybe it's just genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
Most people that don't compete in bodybuilding don't know anything about it. So sometimes it is genuine curiosity. But I think, depending who it is, because I think you pick and choose who you really say, more to.
Sure.
But if it's, the important thing again is to tell people, like, why you're doing this, why it's important to you. So if someone says, hey, how come you're eating this from a Tupperware container?
Why is
Don't you want
it
any of the
cold?
food here? Yeah, why is it cold? Oh, there's no microwave here. Yeah, absolutely, all the things. Then you can either very casually say, "Oh, I'm doing a bodybuilding comp, so this is part of what I eat. I'd love to eat with you guys, but I'll get to it another time. Right
Yep.
now, I'm working on this." Now, if someone is curious and they ask more, then tell them more. Tell them, yeah, look, it's really important to me. This is like a goal I've set. I've always wanted to do this, and that's what it involves. It involves different meals, so I'll enjoy myself. At a later stage. Right now, this is what I'm sticking to. So I think if you're calm and about it, and you answer it quite matter of factly,
Mhm.
it's it can be better received. And if it's not, really, that's on the other person. You do you. So you share as much or as little as you want about it. But be confident in what you're doing. Be clear about why you're doing it, so that it's so non-negotiable that it doesn't matter what anybody thinks.
Mhm.
And if you go in there with that attitude, you'll be able to enjoy yourself.
I think you said three things that are really important: clear, confident, but also calm. And if you are
Yeah.
specifically also not calm in your thoughts, even if your life is chaotic, like if you're not calm internally, you are going to spiral, you are going to unravel. And those are really some things I like to talk about with my clients when it comes to setting boundaries and understanding that, like, you are here willingly, and I can give you the plan, I can give you the keys, but it's your job to follow through. Like, I want your success, but I can't want it more than you. I will exhaust all of my resources to make sure you are successful, but when I give you the keys, I want you to put the car and drive. Don't just put it in park and rev the engine, because we're not going to go anywhere, right? And I feel like the
Mm,
big missing piece a lot of the time is internal calmness, because they haven't
mm,
set themselves up for success because of maybe unrealistic expectations, like we spoke on. Maybe they are still struggling with either self-sabotaging tendencies, all or nothing mentality. And I do think it's very important to understand that while the sport of bodybuilding does have restrictions, or even if you're undertaking just a fitness goal, there are going to be some restrictions, but the restriction doesn't mean it's a prison, right? Restriction in the set of bringing awareness to your nutrition, having a plan with your training, setting boundaries with your loved
mm,
ones, and even with yourself. It is important to have that level of accountability to make progress and to bring about a better version of yourself. But it first starts with being calm on the inside, because I can attest, when I was both obese and deeply anorexic, I was not calm on the inside. My brain, my anxiety, my hatred toward myself ruled
mm,
my actions,
mhm,
and
mm,
it
mm,
bled into every facet of my life and hurt so many relationships when I was not okay with
mm,
who I was, and I was
mm,
so embarrassed about who I was and what I did.
mm, mm. Yeah, I love that analogy, and well done for coming through all of that. I think the thing is that really what matters is the intention of why you're
Mhm.
doing it. When you're restricting so much that you're becoming anorexic, or you're overeating so much that you're very overweight, that that is a form of hating yourself. And while bodybuilding, actually, you're working on yourself, that's a form of self-love. The intention is completely different. Maybe to the outside eye, that may look so excessive that it's wrong,
Yep.
but the intention is different. This is, yes, it's extreme, but so is any extreme sport.
Yep.
And that's what it means. It's about reaching a goal. It's about work, making progress, being consistent, and it's that progress and consistency that actually makes you feel so good. That's where the value is.
Agreed.
You know, seeing that you were, yes, you were able to get through that Christmas lunch and stick to your meal plan, and you did it, and you were there to enjoy the company of other people. It's not just about the food. It's about, yes, you have yours, they have theirs, and you can still enjoy the event. You know.
Absolutely. And I love kind of what you touched on when it comes to, yes, it is an extreme sport. And because it is an extreme sport that has a lot of glamour and frills, it
Mm,
is very attractive to maybe just someone on the street where they're like, oh, I want to do a bikini competition. And
mm,
maybe like we touched on in the beginning, they're doing it for that external validation. They want the tan, the sparkly bikini.
mm,
They want maybe the glutes, the delts, whatever. Like they see
mm,
the look of a stage lean competitor, just a snapshot in time, and they want that, right? They covet that. But then they don't recognize the internal work that maybe goes into producing a physique like that. And they either fail in terms of not being able to reach that goal, or they quit because they develop eating disorders and they blame the sport of bodybuilding. Do you
mm.
think, in your professional opinion, that bodybuilding gives people disordered relationships with themselves or food, or do you think that it just uncovers what's kind of underneath the person and how they're living life?
Yeah. I'm going to say that it uncovers something that was already there. No sport gives you a disorder that is maybe something you were vulnerable to experiencing because of, something unresolved. Maybe there was always body image issues in the background, and most women do, and men, at some
Yeah.
point in their life, experience that, obviously to different levels. But it's why we just need to really be mindful of what's going on for me. Again, not even be all or nothing, but if you're experiencing some sort of mental health issue, whether it's body image or something else, that it means you can't
Mhm.
compete. It's first of all being aware that you're struggling with it and asking for help.
Mm.
As I said, often it takes a lot more than just your bodybuilding coach to point you in the right direction, and you can address those issues. It might help you address things that you haven't addressed and sort of swept under the rug for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And the thing is too that when you do anything extreme, it does bring things up to the surface
Sure.
because it challenges you, makes you more vulnerable, and sometimes that's a good thing because it means you now know what you're really needing to deal with, you need to address.
Absolutely. And just for fun, I do want to open up kind of like the last few minutes for other people's questions. So guys, if you have questions for either myself or Dr. Effie, please put them in the chat below. But just for a fun question for yourself, do you think bodybuilding is more physically demanding or more mentally demanding? Because you're both a therapist, but you're also an athlete yourself. So in your opinion, do you think it's more physical or more mental?
Obviously, it's both, but I think it is definitely more mental, because I think your mind's going to push you a lot further than your
Yep.
body can. Right, so to push those extra reps, it's no longer about your physical strength, it's your mental. If you're telling yourself, oh, I can't do it, there's no way I can do another one, oh, I'm too tired, right, that self-talk is going to stop you from pushing further. So you need the mindset, you need to be able to, navigate those thoughts.
I like that you said that because obviously I agree, but but when I say things like that, my opinion is much more biased because I'm a very intense athlete, but then I'm also a coach. So it's like obviously if I'm analyzing one of my clients' training videos, and I'm like, hey, you had more to give. They're like, oh no, I failed because I stopped. I was like, yes, you chose to stop, but your body had more to give, and it's just honestly bridging that gap and
Yeah.
developing that mental resiliency is such a valuable tool because not only do you get better as a bodybuilder and better as an athlete, but when you pursue greatness in one aspect of your life, when it comes to, maybe like a health or fitness goal, and then you show yourself what you truly can achieve, it bleeds into other areas of your life.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's like being more aggressive in
Mm,
your job to make more money or to bring your company more
mm,
value,
mm,
your
mm,
relationships, how can you be a better partner, a better friend, a better daughter, how can you just get better? And then when you see the good that you're able to do, in a way it's almost kind of causing that ripple effect where you're causing others to kind of like scratch their head and be like, something's different about her, I wonder if I can be like that.
mm, mm. Look, I think also when you're working on yourself, you're more confident. as well. And so just that confidence seeps into other areas and makes you feel like you're capable of a lot more than you thought you can. But all those qualities you develop, like discipline and consistency, they absolutely they're life skills that you need for so many things.
Absolutely. Like in a way, it's like as much as I am a coach, sometimes I do feel kind of like people's mom, but not like in a
Mm,
condescending way where it's like brush your
mm,
teeth, tie your shoes, be nice to people. But a lot of the times we aren't necessarily taught or we forget due to the stressors of our life that like it is important to have structure, have routine, feed yourself, drink water, wash your face. And a lot of the times as a coach,
mm,
it's more about just bringing awareness to your daily actions in the scope of your health and fitness goals and then letting that kind of bleed into your other areas of life. But when things are difficult mentally, maybe you haven't developed the right coping skills when it comes to addressing perceived stress. That's why therapy is so powerful. And unfortunately, sometimes I have noticed in my coaching experience when I refer clients out to therapists, because I'm a huge believer in therapy, I think that therapists do a lot of good. They don't understand the realm of bodybuilding. And so they're like, well, your problem is that you're tracking macros. And it's like, well, tracking macros is a tool to bring awareness to nutrition. The issue resides in restriction. But what I love about your services and who you are and the services that you offer is you're an athlete too. So you get it's not just my fitness pal or maybe whatever food app you use or a meal plan. It's well, what's deeper that's driving the issue with binging and having, food like issues?
mm,
It's more deeply rooted than that. And that's why I really appreciate your services is you don't demonize bodybuilding or demonize health and fitness. You want to get to the root cause and actually help your client.
mm. Thank you for saying that. Look, I think it is unfortunately common that people go to see a therapist, psychologist, about body image or food relationship issues when they are a competitor,
Hmm.
bodybuilding competitor, and the therapist thinks there's an eating disorder here or an issue and it's too extreme and maybe you shouldn't compete. Let's remove that stress first, deal with these other things. I think that, of course, the thing is, if you haven't done it and you don't know much about what it involves, it can be really easy to make those conclusions. Because the thing is that really, if you think about it, comp prep and an eating disorder can look the same to
Oh
someone
yeah.
from the outside. You're going to gym excessively, you're sweating your butt off on a stairmaster every day, and you're restricting your food or what seems like you are. Can look very much like you have an eating disorder. And of course, when you start looking super scary lean, that also, right, you look sick.
You look so sick.
You look so sick, like a walking zombie. Um, but so that's the thing. The two can look the same,
Mhm.
but there's a huge difference, a really key fundamental difference, and the difference is the intention. One is really self-hate, and the other one is actually self-love. Yes, it's extreme, but it's for a purpose. And let's face it, it's to look like that on a stage for like one day. Maybe another
Absolutely.
show a few weeks later, but that's it. So what people see as glamorous as well, it's only for that one day anyway. Bodybuilders don't look like
Absolutely.
that every day of the year. Um, so I think, yeah, I think that's the thing. Like I know the value of doing this sport, how much it's added to my own life, and how much it's added to other people's lives. And so, I would, love to do anything to help them accomplish that, despite any struggles. And sometimes, it's just learning new skills, like how to
Yeah.
manage stress, how to help yourself relax, how to be more grounded, more mindful. It's just learning some skills, and again, they're skills for life. And then it's easier to navigate any struggles.
Absolutely. And while we conclude here, you kind of talked about managing stress. And if you could give us like maybe two or three pointers on how to manage stress or maybe be calm or ground yourself, we can kind of
Mm,
wrap it up there.
mm,
That way the audience kind of has maybe some tangible nuggies that they can
yes,
kind of take home and think about and chew on later.
yeah, awesome.
I love the word
um,
nuggies.
you know, I love it. So I think the first thing is something that I call a life audit. Okay, so to look at like, the sort of things that make up your life at the moment and what causes you stress and really depletes you and sucks your energy, and then what actually uplifts you and energizes you, makes you feel good, right? So you keep those bits, the one that energizes you, and see if you can either remove or change anything that really depletes you. Sometimes we do so many things on autopilot, we don't even realize how much it drains us. So, to look at, it might even be people. Are there people that you interact with that really suck your energy? You need to take a good look at that. The next thing is to put time aside to actually do something relaxing, and I don't mean watching Netflix or scrolling on Instagram. I mean actually pausing, doing a relaxation exercise or a mindfulness exercise. You can, there's lots of free ones around, or on YouTube, or I guide people through that too. But just taking that, even like those 15 minutes out to let go of any stress or tension that's accumulated in your body is really important. And the third thing is to seek support. To communicate to people around you what's going on for you, or to actually get further support if you really, if you really are struggling. So not to be afraid of doing that or feel like you're alone.
I agree. I think those are just some really good tips, and I will be one to fully admit that I kind of thought like meditation and deep breathing and stuff like that was kind of like woo woo, kind of like snake oil, because I tried it in the past, and of course I was inconsistent with it and kind of half-assedly attempted it and didn't see any benefits, of course, because my intention behind it and my effort was just weak sauce. And when I tried doing guided meditations and really being okay with letting my brain be a chatterbox, but trying my best to refocus on breathing. I kid you not. I thought I was able to like breathe normally and take deep breaths, but until I fully was able to focus on my breath, I didn't realize how shallow
Mm,
my breathing was
mm,
until I finally felt my body to relax and I could fill up practically my entire chest cavity with my full lung capacity. I hadn't done that in years because I did not realize how much was balled up and how
mm,
limited I was just by really my chaotic mind, because like we touched on earlier, you need to be calm in
yeah,
order to be able to do this, but if you're never
yeah,
giving yourself space to be calm, you can't expect yourself to be calm.
yeah. No, absolutely. The thing is that when your body relaxes, the mind follows. It's
Hmm.
just easier to think more clearly and rationally when you're not holding all that tension. Because when you're holding that tension, it's like you're in fight flight, and it tells your
Yeah,
brain that you're not safe, that you're in danger. So as soon as you reverse that and you calm your body down, you can think more clearly. You know what you need to do next. Um, so that really helps. Really
absolutely. Dr. Ebby,
valuable.
thank you so much for your time this evening slash this morning since you were in Australia. Is there anything that you want to, kind of plug when it comes to your own services or anything like that? Because I do really believe in what you offer. And honestly, I wish I knew about you earlier because, like, it would have just been so good for a lot of people. But the fact that I found you now is definitely something to be thankful for.
Well, thanks so much, Ash, for that. So obviously, whoever's watching can see what my Instagram handle is, and there's some links there to the services I offer. So I offer one-on-one, therapy or mental health support
Mhm.
for bodybuilders, and there's also some free resources there that you can download as well to help you stick to your comp prep, and a masterclass as well that you can get. So if you see all the links, there's a lot linked there. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I think you have a checklist, if I'm not mistaken, for
Yeah,
competitors if you're ready to prep. Yeah,
that's
I
right.
downloaded
Right.
that and I sent it in my group chat to all of my athletes. I was like, read this.
Awesome, love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I've
Dr.
got one
Abby,
for the two ends.
uh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Thank you so very much for your time this evening. I see you got some fans in the chat. Continue doing good and being good, and we appreciate your services. And guys, thank you so much for your time this evening. Whether you were able to watch us live or watching the replay, I appreciate your support, and I hope you have a great rest of your morning and slash evening.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, absolutely. Take care. Bye bye.